Hi there, and good to see you. Phrasal verbs can feel confusing at first, but they show up everywhere in daily English, so learning them naturally really matters.
Absolutely. And the good news is that you do not need to memorize a huge list all at once. If we focus on the most common ones and hear them in real conversations, they start to make sense much faster.
A lot of learners get stuck because phrasal verbs look small, but they behave in tricky ways. You see a simple verb like put, then add up, off, or on, and suddenly the meaning changes completely. That is why people often feel frustrated.
Exactly. And the key is not to treat them like random vocabulary. Instead, think of them as useful chunks of language that speakers use naturally. For example, wake up, give up, and look after are not just word pairs. They are everyday tools for speaking smoothly.
One helpful strategy is learning them through situations instead of lists. If someone says, I need to pick up my sister, you learn pick up in the context of collecting someone. Then later, when you hear pick up the phone or pick up a new skill, you notice the connection.
That approach works well because meaning often depends on context. Some phrasal verbs keep a physical sense, while others become more abstract. Turn on the light is easy to picture, but turn on someone has a different feeling entirely. Seeing both in real use helps the brain store them properly.
We should also talk about common phrasal verbs that appear in daily speaking all the time. Get up, sit down, come in, go out, find out, and run into are everywhere. If a learner knows these, conversations become much easier to follow.
Right, and many of these verbs are so common that native speakers use them without thinking. That is why they are worth mastering early. You do not need to sound perfect at first. You just need enough familiarity to understand them quickly and use them confidently in simple sentences.
Another challenge is that some phrasal verbs are separable and some are not, which makes people nervous. For instance, you can say turn the music down or turn down the music, but you cannot always move the words around in every case. That rule can feel annoying.
It can, but learners should not panic about grammar before building intuition. A lot of fluency comes from repeated exposure. If you hear turn down often enough in songs, videos, and conversations, your ear starts to recognize what sounds natural long before you can explain the rule perfectly.
Let's add a practical method. Group phrasal verbs by function. For example, verbs for movement, like go away, come back, and step out, or verbs for communication, like call back, bring up, and speak up. This makes learning feel less chaotic.
I like that a lot because it gives structure without making the study boring. Another useful group is daily tasks: clean up, set up, tidy up, and pack away. When learners practice these in mini dialogues, they remember them better because the words are tied to real life actions.
Repetition matters, but not the dry kind where you stare at flashcards forever. It helps to say the verbs aloud in short sentences. For example, I'll look into it. He dropped by yesterday. Or, we need to sort out this problem. Speaking them makes them stick.
And using them in your own life is even better. If you write one sentence about your day with each phrasal verb, the meaning becomes personal. Instead of just reading, give in, you might say, I wanted dessert, so I gave in. That kind of example is much easier to remember.
A lot of learners worry about sounding unnatural, but the real risk is avoiding phrasal verbs altogether. Then your English can sound stiff or overly formal. Native speakers usually say, put off the meeting, not postpone the meeting, at least in casual speech.
That is a great point. Phrasal verbs often carry a relaxed conversational tone, so they are essential for daily speaking. Of course, formal alternatives exist, but if your goal is natural conversation, you need both styles. Learning the casual version helps you understand real people in real settings.
Listening practice should be part of the process too. Short podcasts, TV scenes, interviews, and everyday videos are full of phrasal verbs. When you hear them repeatedly, you begin to notice which ones are common and which ones have multiple meanings.
Yes. And it is smart to pause and repeat the exact phrase. If someone says, "We ran out of milk," repeat that whole chunk instead of just run out. The full phrase is what matters. Over time, you stop translating word by word and start recognizing meaning instantly.
Another useful habit is keeping a small personal notebook of phrasal verbs you actually hear. Write the phrase, a simple meaning, and one example from your own routine. That is much more effective than copying 50 verbs you may never use.
Definitely. Quality beats quantity here. If you know 20 common phrasal verbs really well, you will do more in conversation than someone who half knows 100. The goal is not to collect vocabulary like trophies. It is to use language naturally when speaking with people.
So the big idea is simple. Learn phrasal verbs in context. Hear them often, and practice them in real sentences. That is the natural way to make them feel less mysterious and more useful.
Exactly. And once you stop treating them like a memorization trap, they become one of the most practical parts of English. Keep listening, keep speaking, and the common ones will start coming out naturally.